You're listening to the Informal Mystic Podcast, your destination for mind-bending conversations that explore metaphysics, energy medicine, and the mysteries of the universe. I'm your host, Blaire McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Informal Mystic Podcast with my friend Amanda. And we are going to be talking about the upper chakra system. So throat chakra, third eye chakra, crown chakra. And Amanda, when I posted on my stories that I wanted co-hosts, she reached out and volunteered and wanted to talk about this. Or, well, actually, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that or if I was like, hey, you want to talk about the the upper chakra system or what? But when I was sort of talking to her in preparation for the episode, she does Reiki healing. She does tarot. She's also, are you a death doula?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it? Okay, cool. Yeah, she's a death doula. And so she's obviously like clearly connected with that upper chakra system. So I'm really excited to have you on today to kind of talk about this and explore.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So tell me just a little bit about your what you do and also like your connection with that upper chakra system, if you can.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a death doula, tarot worker, and energy worker. And right now, I primarily hold sessions online, holding space for grief, caretakers of people in their last transitions of life, and doing energy work with them and tarot reading as well. And as a Reiki master teacher, I've studied the chakra system, and as a psychic medium, I feel like I'm pretty well connected with the upper chakras for
sure. Yeah, I gotta have that third eye, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really exciting that I love to like plan and like micromanage things and like pick out the perfect things for everything. But I literally just like threw it up on my stories one day and I'm like, hey, my podcast co-host got knocked up and I need more, podcast co-hosts. And people are just like, hey, I'll do it. And it's been a really fun sort of like community engagement thing. And I just love that all of the people who like reached out and they were like, hey, I'll do this. It just like aligned so well with what I wanted to talk about. And so I had Jason, one of my other friend followers, reach out about the lower chakra system. He was just like the perfect fit. And then you reached out I connected you with this one and it just like worked out so well. So synchronicity is like such the vibe these days with this podcast. And I'm just like so grateful. So I guess we'll just kind of launch into the topic at hand. And we're going to be talking about the upper chakra system. If you haven't listened to my podcast on the chakra system in general, the lower chakra system, the heart chakra, go back and listen to those so that you can kind of get that like stacked foundational energy. And then we will begin talking about the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra in this one. So the energy of the throat chakra, that is such a man, I feel like we as a collective are really in this chakra these days. Does that feel?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
feel like you're required to have a voice right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we are really like honing in on how we are using our voice. So the throat chakra is primarily what we think about when we're, setting boundaries, speaking out our needs, using our voice for things. But also I find it so interesting that that is like sort of where we stop. And to me, I find when I'm in session with a lot of my clients, it'll be like, we have to go further. Like, it's not just what we're saying and like how we're saying it, but it's also like what we're doing and like how our lives are like manifesting into physical reality. And so to me, the throat chakra is really this like center of reality becoming real, right? It's like taking all of this like internal stuff that we're doing, all of this like internal work, all of our desires that kind of live in that solar plexus, all of our relationships that live in that sacral, and really just sort of like propelling them beyond our body and putting them into physical space, into the 3D.
Yeah,
That feel accurate?
I really like how you said that, because it's true. Like, you can say your affirmations all you want, but it is literally energy. How is it vibrating? How is it resonating within you? If you don't truly feel that way, truly believe that, if you're not embodying it and expressing the emotions of the words, then you might as well not even say those affirmations.
Yeah.
Or
It's just like, well, it's like just we're making noise just to make noise.
right, yeah. And it's true, like, when we all start learning about this, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna say this because words create things. But it's just like you said, you have to go deeper. And so few people, especially in the beginning, they don't understand how to go deeper. We're not taught
Yeah.
how to access those deeper realms.
Yeah. And I honestly feel like there's so many practitioners that aren't teaching, right? Like they're kind of stopping at like the affirmations, like, oh, just say the positive thing, like speak what you want out into the universe, and the universe will match it. And we're like, audio is a type of energy, right? But like the energy that's motivating that is more transcendent and more profound than just like the regular words that we're saying. It makes me think of like when you hear people like psychologists or like therapists talking about behavior and relationships, and they're like, well, yeah, you can say you're sorry all you want, but like the real apology is like your actions. Like, are you manifesting a whole new action based upon that apology that you're like putting out there, or is it all just the same?
Right.
So
It's the lip service. Are you giving lip service, or are you actually doing
yeah.
what you say you're going to do?
Is your throat chakra actually reflecting who you are in those lower chakras? And well, I mean, even the upper chakras, like just because it's like this stacked system doesn't mean that the crown chakra and the third eye chakra doesn't play into like how you're manifesting physically. But are you actually embodying like who you say you are? Is the throat reflecting your lived experience and your energetic reality? So yeah, the throat chakra is so much more deep than just say your affirmations, boys and girls, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like at least for me, the throat chakra has always been a tough one. And I think it's because, especially as women, we're taught you're supposed to be nice, and
Yeah.
you need to show up and behave in a certain way. But if you're feeling something completely different on the inside, then you're suppressing that throat chakra, and it's hard to heal. I found it hard to heal. I'm still healing from it.
I am too. Oh my gosh. I actually set an action step for myself recently. And this was such throat chakra energy, and just has to do with my own like past trauma that I'm trying to clear. But I committed to trying to talk to one male stranger a day, because I am like still really intimidated by masculine energy. Right. And it doesn't matter if it's like healthy masculine energy is like very, very comfortable to be around. So I'm sure that it would be easier for me to talk to like a stranger who's like very healthy in their masculine expression than it would be for me to be talking to like somebody who's really toxic or something. But just being in masculine energy and still maintaining my confidence, maintaining my like sense of personal power is still a struggle. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've been healing this feminine masculine balance wound for a really long time. And it's still one of those things that I'm just like, it's so hard.
Yeah, no. And like, for my own experience, I had been diagnosed with social anxiety.
Okay.
So for me to volunteer, show up, talk about this stuff, like, already I see that within myself, how far I've come, because
Mm,
just showing up places was difficult maybe 10 years ago
for
for me.
sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And for me, when I was starting to learn to heal my throat chakra, I had to teach myself how to have small talk conversations
Mm,
with people, which sounds so
yes.
funny. Like everyone hates it and wants to avoid it, but I would be like, yes, nice day we're having today, right? Like I didn't know how to
That's so
communicate with people.
beautiful. Yeah. And like everybody trashes small talk. I trash small talk. I help heal people and like help them heal with their anxiety and really help people have relationships. And I personally don't love being in settings where I have to do small talk, but the desire to rush past small talk and into like deep relating is not serving us very well, right? So for me, like I have codependency patterning as my like history, and I like to get like super connected super quickly, and so kind of slowing myself down in connection and doing the work of building relationship, which unfortunately involves a lot of small talk, is absolutely vital for me to make sure I'm making like healthy relationship decisions and making sure I'm not like, hang on a second, I have completely abandoned myself. What's going on? And so yeah, people trash the small talk, but you have to do the small talk before you do the deep stuff. Otherwise, it's just like you're skipping. You're cheating. You
Right.
can't be cheating. Don't cheat on your relationships, which that's
Right.
not what I mean at all. But yeah, hopefully context clued you into what I'm talking about there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the throat chakra is super deep chakra. And I find, okay, so when I was healing my throat chakra, I was really, let's see, so I did this thing with like my mentor, and she was talking about like each chakra we would go and we would do like a thing, like we would pull the soul grid for this specific chakra. And when I was working with my throat chakra, they were talking to me about all of our lore, and they like brought to me, well, I say they, I'm talking about like my guides and like my inner guidance and spirit team, whatever. They brought me the story of the Little Mermaid, and which is so interesting that it's made like a complete comeback.
Yeah.
And it was not even like, this was years ago. This was like probably a couple years ago, and it wasn't even like a thing a couple years ago. And they're like, "Do you see your lore? Do you see how you give away your voice for love?" And do you see
Mm.
like how your culture has been taught that that's what to do, especially the women among you? And I was just like, that was
Wow.
my favorite movie when I was a kid. And now I'm like, how much of that as a precedent did I have in order for me to just like, sort of adopt it in my energy and like in my gene codes or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so
So maybe
yeah,
that's why it was your favorite movie as a kid, because
so I was like,
on a deep level you connected to it.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, anytime you find like a favorite anything, that should be like your like it's so interesting because what people pick as their Halloween costume, it's like their inner world just kind of like blah, it's out here. And so I'm
Yeah.
always like, what do you want to be for Halloween, children? Please, nothing. Like, no, not a cop, not a military person, please. I don't want you
Right.
fighting for the rest of your life. But this year we had Rick Astley, which was so freaking funny, and
Hilarious.
a cat. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is an inner world I can get behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I probably was really drawn to that movie because it really fit into my really sweet codependent spirit, like, oh, I won't talk if you just love me.
Yeah, and it's funny actually because that was my favorite movie when I was little too.
Mm.
But the part that I connected about is when she was singing, and I wanted to be the Little Mermaid.
Mm.
I used to
Okay.
pretend to sing, but
Uh-huh.
I like growing up, people called me so quiet because I had
Mm-hmm.
social anxiety. I was the let me fly under the radar. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could just be invisible, be part of the background, then everything will be
It's so
fine.
interesting
Yeah, isn't that interesting that I
that you
really
were like,
connected with like, oh, I want to be that
be
part of her.
expressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. So yeah, absolutely. The healing process of the throat chakra is a real doozy for women, but I also like I don't want to be like, oh, women have it so hard, poor women, although we do. But I also really want to highlight that men don't really exercise their throat chakra very well either.
No, I would have to agree with you. Yeah, I think everyone has a hard time exercising
Hmm.
their throat chakra. And I
Hmm.
would argue to say that it's generational trauma because of
Absolutely.
all the generations of you need to
Hmm.
sit there and be quiet and not heard and quit crying, all of
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, and then I always end up talking about this. I should maybe do like a podcast on this specific thing. But it's always so interesting to me when we talk about like what the past generations, like what our grandparents went through and what our parents went through. We had like war to recover from. We've had war to recover from for like multiple generations.
Yeah.
And imagine the suppression that you'd have to do to get through the day after seeing heinous things, heinous acts of violence, and we're still seeing them. And so I'm just feeling like suppression was like the main survival skill, suppression of self, suppression of voice, especially the wives who weren't even allowed to get like bank accounts until
Until
like
the
the
70s.
70s. I know. I'm like,
Isn't that
what?
wild?
And that just boggles my mind. I mean, I still like literally cannot even. The 70s was only like 30 years ago. Okay, I'm kidding. I know it's 50 years ago. I just like rounding down to 2000.
Right.
But the 70s feel like last week, and women were so oppressed back then, and it was such a shitty system for both men and women.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think yes, it's a patriarchal society, so they had the road paved for them in some ways,
Mhm.
but if you didn't show up in the quote unquote right way, then men also had to suppress a lot of
Oh
themselves
yeah.
as well. So
I mean, I just think that like everybody talks about how harmful the patriarchy is for women, and that's like so absolute 100% true. But any kind of system of oppression, it's going to be bad for the oppressor and bad for the oppressed, right? So men, what part of themselves do they have to hack off in order to like actively harm the people around them? Like how violent does the internal life of a man have to be to like abuse his wife, or like it's just um the systems never the systems don't work. The
no, that's
systems don't work, right? Like any kind of system that you see, you're going to have like the position of power, and I put that in air quotes for people who are just listening. But the people who are in power they have a easier 3D time of life,
yeah.
but it's got to be hell there too. Like I just have to believe that any kind of like oppressive system is bad for all involved, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Which I mean, we're getting into like some weird ethics here. So this isn't the throat chakra conversation necessarily. Like we need to probably like channel this into its own avenue and kind of
Yeah.
carry on our way. But yeah, I just don't want to like, you know, slide past the suppression of the throat chakra and be like, oh well, it's only women. Like us women have it so hard, when in reality, like men, my husband has such a hard time talking to me. And it's been
Mm.
like consistent, like, hey, I can tell you have something to say. You need to say it. You need to say it, like over and over and over and over again. And that relational healing journey has been just as much for him as for me. So if you're a man and you're listening to us talk about the throat chakra, and you're hearing us say like, women, we've been trained to suppress our voice. I also want to like invite you into some self-reflection of like, what parts of your voice are you suppressing? Are you channeling your voice only in a specific type of way? Are you accessing emotions when you're using your throat chakra, or are you just saying the acceptable words of that men are allowed to say? Because it's all bad. Any kind of suppression is just not going to serve us at the individual level or the collective level. So, okay, the last thing I want to say about the throat chakra is that I hear a lot of people talking about how their throat chakra is so active and how they don't need to heal their throat chakra, but it's overactive, right? Like we've got the reverse happening where they're just like spewing anger and like mad and anger and just like upset at everybody. And they're calling it a healthy throat chakra because it's just working, like it's operational, right?
Right. But yeah, no, that's not healthy, because to me, that is indicative that it's not connected to like any of the lower chakras going on. You're just operating from all of your upper chakras, and underactive, overactive.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah.
We're after the balance. We're after like a mindful expression of the throat chakra that's informed by things like safety and relationship and desire and love, right? The one that's right underneath the throat chakra is the chakra that's responsible for metabolizing the energy of unconditional love. And so just because you can speak doesn't necessarily mean that throat chakra is still a very healthy flow for you. A lot of times it's like, hang on, before we speak, let's make sure our words are informed by, love and all the other things. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when it's very overactive like that, whether it's angry or maybe you just have verbal diarrhea and you're like, I don't know why I tell strangers my whole personal story.
That's a really good one.
I think it's still protecting your heart chakra. You're still protecting yourself, because it's like, well, if I just get everything out on the table, then I won't have to get hurt later on. I won't be too attached to them. Like if this is too much for them, then they'll just leave and I won't have to protect myself. And same thing with the anger. It's still protecting some scared or uncertain part of yourself.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like that's like a first line of defense. The throat chakra is the external wall against depth and closeness.
Yeah.
Really interesting perspective. And I was thinking about the anger. Well, so I should say that was like my coping skill for a while. I was like very angry at people, and I didn't really ever like express it in like a very yelling fashion, but like anger was my main survival skill. And so I talk about that a lot because I'm like, I thought I was so healthy, but I was really just self-righteous. It wasn't healthy at all. Like, oh, you can't do this, and this. Well, they can. And it's my problem if I'm super, super angry or triggered by their actions. So yeah, anger was the one that I was like kind of focusing on because it's the one that I just experienced so much. But that diarrhea of like, I just told my strangers my whole life. We've all met people like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, wow, you're an overshare. And I think that people like us, like people who do energy work and like hold space, sort of naturally draw people in,
attract
like that.
Those people for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, what did you just tell me? Oh my gosh, we're at the DMV. I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that oversharing is like a whole nother layer of that throat chakra, and really also an imbalance. So great. That was a really excellent point.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's pivot a bit and let's talk about the third eye, which is such a fun chakra. Yeah, I'm like so vibing with the third eye. Third eye would be like the storehouse for intuition. It doesn't necessarily mean that you get like these beautiful, amazing visuals and that you can astral project. It's that you're connected to unseen with the physical eye things. And so I believe that everybody has some level of third eye activation. I don't think you have to be like a psychic or a medium or an energy therapist or whatever to have an active third eye. But I think that there are exercises and practices that like maybe you and I have kind of put in place that helped us really get these crisp visuals and be able to connect with energy and like more unseen things, right? Like our perception, we've exercised enough to where our perception is like more than the average person. So,
Right.
so any third eye stories that you want to share with us?
So I'd say that I really became aware of my third eye when I was learning Reiki.
Okay.
And when they attuned me to level 1, it was, for me, it was like an explosion all of a sudden. And everything just opened up. And I felt like I was free floating. I'm like, what is happening? Am I going crazy? What is going on? But I'm glad that I explored it instead of being afraid by it.
Yeah.
And it just grew and I was able to strengthen it.
Yeah, I had a really similar experience. I met the person I did my apprenticeship with, who I'm actually, let's see, she's been on the podcast, and she told me a story about her own guide. And it was like not a formal thing. Like she wasn't like, hey, everyone, I'm going to teach you energy therapy. Instead, she was like, this is what I'm doing, and you can do it too if you want. And so I went home and I really didn't even have that hardcore of like a meditation practice. Like my main meditation would have been like journaling or like walking or hiking or something. Like I wasn't sitting with the intent to astral project, but she introduced me to this guide that she had. And I was like so full of skepticism. Introduced me to this guide she had, and I wasn't getting visuals, but it felt like I had gotten thrown it was two separate occurrences. The first time I thought that it felt in my body like I had gotten thrown off a building, and like I was just like free falling, and I'm just like sitting there like pinned to my chair, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It was the weirdest thing. And then the next time that I like sat and like tried to connect with this guy, tried to connect with like a meditative state, it was like I was in one of those. It was like I was in a centrifuge. You know those like rides where you like pin
like
back
stick to the wall.
Yeah, you're like stuck to the wall. It felt like that, and I was like, I can't move my body. And so that was like my initial third eye activation, and it was so embodied, which is really interesting because not everybody does that. Not everybody feels it in their body that strongly. But I don't know if it was because I was like so skeptical, and like my guides were like, no girl, you're gonna learn. You're going to actually choose this as your life. So you better hurry up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why, like you're going to need to like open your third eye already. We've been asking you to meditate for a while now and you haven't. But for probably like a year to a year and a half, any kind of like very powerful energy that would come through as I was meditating or as I was in trance state or as I was doing like a energy healing, I would like get this like jolt in my physical body. It was really, really interesting. And so it became really hard to be skeptical after a while because it was like my body's reacting and I am not doing the controlling. Like I am, it's happening to me. Right. And so I'm really grateful that it happened that way because it expedited the process. I think if I had just like visuals and like, synchronicity, I'm sure I would have had synchronicity too. Cause like the synchronicity never stops when you live this lifestyle. But if I had just the visuals, I would have been like, is this real? Is this real? I don't know. Is this real? Am I making this up? Am I making this up? And so, I'm really grateful that I got thrown off a building and pinned to a centrifuge. That's my like initiation.
Your guides know.
Yeah. My guides are like, we're not going to take it easy on her.
Yeah. Initiation by fire. That's what you need.
Exactly. exactly. Yeah, we're gonna have to really go hard. And I've had like here's the thing, like that was my initial initiation, but then I've had like other layers of like, whoa, that's profound. Like, whoa, my gosh, that's intense. And it's just sort of slowly, it's almost like I'm getting like a visual of like a flower blooming, which would be like how my third eye has kind of opened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel like mine has done the same. And it's like as you continue to intentionally strengthen your third eye, it's
mhm,
like, yeah, it's almost like layers. And
yeah.
it's like, okay, you're ready for the next layer. You're ready for the
Hmm.
next layer. Now you can see more and hear more and do more and feel more. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And I find that so often. And this is like a huge part of what I do, just like professionally, like in my healing practice. I heal people. So I don't heal people. Y'all heal yourself, but I guide you to like the little landmarks that'll help you heal yourself so that we can clear the crap that's getting in the way of that third eye connection. So I have a ton of people who are like, hey, I really want to do what you do. I want to see what you see. And I'm like, okay, well, in order to do that, we're going to have to like establish that root chakra safety. We're going to have to get you real comfortable in relationships. We're going to have to get you really in touch with your desire. We're going to have to get you able to love people. And we're going to have to get you able to speak your truth. And then once we get some established health and balance there, the third eye will just naturally just be there, ready to open, right? Half of the battle for me was confidence. Like, am I actually seeing what I'm seeing? And so I
Oh,
had to
that's
do,
the
yeah,
majority of the battle, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So more than half, like 75% of the battle. Uh, but it was like, I had to do so much belief system work, right? I was like, okay, can this actually be real? Like, can it, what's the scientific precedent for what I'm doing? Like, is there a scientific precedent? And then the deeper and deeper I went, it was just like, oh, okay, that's actually not reality. This is an illusion. Okay, this over here is an illusion, and this is an illusion. And like everywhere I look, it's like we're kind of catfishing ourselves into an existence. And the more I realized that it's all energy
Yeah.
anyway, the easier it was for me to be like, well, sure, why not? I'll just believe this. And I actually, near the beginning, I had to like install this mantra and I would like repeat it for myself over and over again. And it would be, who would it hurt for me to pretend like this is observable, objective reality? Is it going to hurt anyone? And I would ask it honestly, like, is this going to hurt my husband if I act as though this was the 100% authentic truth? Like, is this real or is this not real? And I'm going to pick real for now, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. And the more I did that, the more it was like I would do that, and then I'd get rewarded by like a little burst of confidence or like a little burst of like detachment. Well, if this isn't real, then that's fine. I don't
Right.
care. I like what I'm doing and it's not hurting anyone. And it's actually making my life better. And it's actually the ripple effect of the lives of my children and my husband. It's beautiful. And so, sure, I can't prove any of this shit. I can't prove a single thing that I do on a daily basis, but it makes my life better. It makes my clients' lives better. And so I'm launching it. I'm going as hard as I can here, you know?
Yeah. Um, I agree with you. I come from a science background. I worked
Mm-hmm.
as a pathologist assistant
Okay.
for many years. So being able to see it, study it, know that this is what it is was very ingrained in me. And
Mm-hmm.
doing all this quote unquote woo woo stuff, I was like, felt like I had to hide in the shadows and
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, everyone's gonna think I'm crazy. And is
Yeah.
I couldn't believe myself either. I'm like, this can't be real. I have to be making this stuff up.
Uh-huh.
But people would keep coming to me and asking me to do my services,
Uh-huh.
and I would deliver messages for them. They're like, "Oh my God, that's so spot on," and
Yeah.
you know, oh, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And there
Uh-huh.
comes a point where you can't deny that it's real.
Mm-hmm. It becomes
And
a lived experience.
Yeah. And
right?
just
Instead of
like
just
you,
something you're doing.
right. And like you, it's like, okay. And if it's not real, if I am completely delusional, it's helping people and it makes me feel good. It's not hurting anyone. So I know it's real and that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And not only that, but like it's all delusional, guys. Right? Like there's nothing out there that's not built on someone's belief about something. And so pick the best delusion, pick the delusion that's going to like give you the most comfort, right? And so when people are in my energy and we're like in session and I'm helping them connect with their third eye, I'm helping them get their own transmissions. A lot of times I'll be like, I don't know. And I'm like, yes, yes, it's real. Don't doubt it. This isn't ego. Like I'm here mirroring you. I'm hearing what you're saying. You didn't make this up. This isn't something that you would make up. And so we're going to act like this is real. And so I need you to just buckle in and like make that your new truth. So it's a lot of that confidence building. It's a lot of that like, am I okay with people judging me?
Yeah,
Right.
that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a
For
scary
me.
one. Guys, please don't judge me. Please don't judge us.
You don't have anything nice to say.
Please don't comment on my
Right.
content if you don't like it. No, I'm kidding.
Kidding.
If you
Yeah.
want to judge me, it's like it's fine. It'll probably like hurt my feelings, but I have tools in place where I'll be totally fine. So if you want to judge me, that's perfectly fine. But it is a lot of like building your practice of like the world is conceptualizing me as out there, right? And I'm not even as out there as other people I know. The Jen, the one who did my apprenticeship, who's like now my best friend, she's way further out there than me. I'm always like, hey Jen, come back and be human with me for a while. Like we'll go to space later, like just human with me for a minute.
Yeah.
And I am still like worried. She's out there living just like she has such a thriving experience of the energy. And like I aspire to be that connected. But I can't get any more connected until I can like release some of that fear of being judged for talking about the chakra system and talking about my guides and talking about my higher self and, you know, inviting people into this like really interesting modality that's very countercultural. So
Yeah, for sure. And that, goes back to the throat chakra, what we're talking about.
Geez, the throat, the doggone throat chakra.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
practice talking about it. And I feel the same way. Like for years, I wouldn't tell anyone that I was reading tarot and doing energy work. And it's like, well, you got to tell people if you're gonna get some clients.
Yeah, you gotta advertise.
Right?
Especially you had to market yourself.
And when I started to tell people, I noticed I'd like flinch, brace myself. How are they going to react to the news that I'm not a secretary? I don't, I don't do these normal jobs like everyone else. No, I heal. I'm an energy healer and I read tarot. What are you gonna say?
Brace for impact. Yeah, there's always some dumb thing. I probably shouldn't say this. I don't think he'll ever listen, but I met a public figure in my hometown and he was like there's a bookstore at the front of my office. And so I like went to their launch party and I was like, oh yeah, mingle. And so I met one of the like a public figure in my town. So I'm like, hey, I've been wanting to meet you. I do energy therapy. Would you like to come back and see my room? And so I like opened the door and like my massage table there. And he's like, oh, you do massage. I'm like, no, I don't do massage. Oh, okay. I guess there would be a market for that. And I'm like, yeah, there is, man. Could you just like, I know it's hard. I know it expends the mind, but like throw me a bone here. But yeah, not everybody's gonna understand it. Not everybody's gonna like want this as a lifestyle. This as a lifestyle is risky in a lot of ways because we really are subverting the culture. We are really subverting like science as the pedestal that we like elevate experience on.
Yeah, and just like you said, that everything's a delusion. I mean, science is literally like, a guy or a woman that tested stuff out and they're like, hey,
Mhm.
this worked for me. And people are like, cool, right on, man. Like, I
Mhm.
believe in you and I believe in your work. And we're just going to spread the good word that this is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
it's
know, right?
still
Like,
just like ideas and
they're all theories, right? And the
yeah.
theories, mm, mm, for the most part, really not provable if it's still a theory. So,
And things that were provable have become unproven and
uh-huh.
like, oh, actually it's this instead. So
Yeah,
that's
like, aren't we like, which I literally know so little about science. Like, I know some about science. I know enough about science to probably be like dangerous when I'm talking about science. But I almost feel like we're leaving like the atomic model of like atoms and matter and like physical reality, and we're like sort of heading towards like a quantum model.
oh, for sure. Like
Yeah.
that used to be a pseudoscience even
Uh-huh.
just 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
now they're treating it as
Then
science.
the cutting edge of science. Yeah. So yeah, we just out here ahead of the game, hanging out with the quantum field
Yeah,
and
get with
talking
it.
to, don't you
Open
want
that
to
third eye.
be exactly open your third eye and get on our level. I'm teasing about that.
Yeah.
There's no hierarchy, right? All experience is like the experience. Like your experience of not having an open third eye is just as contributing to our collective experience as my experience of having an open third eye. And so if you want it, it's there. If not, that's okay too.
Yeah, for sure.
But to call us a pseudoscience, to call what we're doing woo or like, diminish in any way what we're doing is you're just too soon to the game. One day this will be the norm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So if you want an open third eye, there's plenty of ways to do it. My favorite, oh my gosh, my favorite thing that I've ever done to expand my third eye, I had I call them sacred sisterhood circles. And I spent like a whole day in the energy, charting people's energy for this activation that I was going to do. And so I was in the energy all day, third eye active all day. And then that evening, I had this bright idea that I wanted to do Om chanting. Have you ever done Om chanting?
I have.
Okay. So it's actually AUM, it's Om, and you just like repeat it over and over again. But you start the A in your belly, and then you take the U into your chest, and then you end the M in your third eye. And so what it does energetically is it pulls all of your lower chakra energy into that third eye space. And so you're like pulling and pulling. And so I Om chanted for like 20 minutes. And the next day, my freaking forehead was like actually sore. And I was like, is this sinus? Is this like, surely it's not my
Wow.
third eye that is hurting. Like, that's so weird. But my third eye, my forehead was like freaking tender. And
Wow.
yeah, I did the like activation and everything with like a really bad sore forehead. So yeah, interesting. If you're gonna
Very
do the third
interesting.
eye things, maybe just Om chant for like 10 minutes instead of 20 or something.
Yeah, don't go so hardcore.
Yeah, don't go so hard. I have a hard time with like impulse control and like not being a crazy person. Like I'm just so in it. I want to do it all and I want to do it so hard.
Yeah.
uh, which I shouldn't say crazy, but yeah, I'm just like very like obsessed. And when I do things, I do them like a little bit too hard. So yeah, Om chanting was a really fun one. And then the next morning I'm taking my kids to school and I was Om chanting with like a Spotify frequency or whatever. And
Yeah.
so Om chanting came on and my kids were like, what is this? I was like, oh, it's Om chanting. I did this. I chanted all night last night. And I was like, I showed them how to do it. And they're like, this is so weird. And they're like laughing. And you're like, my kids are even judging me. Oh my God. Oh.
Oh, that's funny. I like shamanic drumming to
Okay,
help.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that gets me in the zone and opens things right up.
Okay. Do you drum or do you just listen to it?
I usually just listen to it. I have drummed in the past, but I don't have my own drum.
Okay.
But there's something about drumming too. Like it
Oh,
helps
it's got
ground
that.
you too. Yeah.
It's got, there's some, okay. So are you familiar with EMDR?
No.
Well, it's
Like,
like a type of therapy. where each side of your brain is stimulated in turn, and it kind of like helps the neural pathways, it shakes them up or whatever. But some therapists are using drums as like a type of therapy because you're using each hand and it's doing the same, it's hopping the hemispheres of the brain, it's stimulating either side of the brain. So there's definitely something to drumming that's like deeply grounding and trance-like. Gets you really in that trance state.
It is trance-like. Yeah, it does. So yeah, that the rhythmic beat, it just
yeah, for sure.
I like it.
Yeah, me too. So the third eye, it is basically this space of connecting to intuitive knowing. It's access to the unified field of consciousness. When I say the unified field of consciousness, I am meaning that we're all energy. We're all made up of the same thing. And when we have an active third eye, we are accessing wisdom from the other parts of us, or the other selves out there that we have, the ultimate self of like source consciousness, or the all, the energy, whatever you want to call it. So that would be what that has for us. The third eye is, I actually didn't even say the color of the throat chakra. The throat chakra is blue, and the third eye is like, to me, it looks like violety. Some people see more like an indigo. And I think probably the colors are maybe like an individualized experience to begin with. Like, I think you got your own shades out there. You got your own shade of throat chakra. You got your own shade of third eye chakra. But mine is like a purpley, violety kind of energy. So
yeah, same for me too.
Okay, cool. And I guess we can kind of pivot a little bit more and talk about the crown chakra. And to me, the crown chakra is like one of the most simple chakras that we have. It's just like our connection to source, and it sits on the top of our head like an actual crown, or like a funnel, or however you want to conceptualize that. But it's sort of like our receiver. It's our connection to source energy, source consciousness. To me, it doesn't even really need like cleansing or balancing. A lot of times it's just active and flowing.
Yeah, I feel like when it's a little bit shut off, that's where you see people who don't feel connected to anything. Like,
okay,
kind of like, what's the point of it all?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. I haven't really had a whole lot of interaction with people who had real closed off crown chakras.
No, me either. Usually it's like it feels like a slight disconnect to me.
Okay.
Like it could just be put on track a little bit better.
Yeah.
I haven't really experienced anyone fully closed off.
Yeah. I think that part of why maybe I don't see the people is because of like what it is we're doing, right? Like if we're like, I don't think that people who seek out energy therapy are just going to be so closed off. Like I think we kind of have like a precedent, like we do the energy, we connect to the spirit, we connect to the all. And for me, it's typically a pretty fluid, open connection. So yeah, that's the easy one. You don't have to worry about that one too much, unless you're like so disconnected and like closed off from the idea or the concept of connection with spirit or source, or I literally never can't say those words without saying whatever you want to call it. I probably list said it like 5 different things. I know. I made some Instagram content, and actually it'll probably come out before I get this launched, because I'm not actually sure when I'll finally make the season and wrap it up and start launching them. But I wanted to like tell people what I mean when I say the word God, and what I mean when I say like source and energy and the all. And it's just such a thing, right? Like the word God has been like so hijacked, and I still want to use the word, because there are certain people who don't have a horrific experience of the idea or concept of God. And I find myself wanting to kind of like push back, or like expand people's definition of God. And so like if you have a very limited idea, if God is a deity, like a figure, I want to like kind of break that a little bit and like poke it and be like, are you sure that's what God means? I don't know. I don't know if that's what God means.
Right.
I think God means like way, 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 way more. In fact, I think you're God. This is just a little secret. It's you too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like those qualifiers. And I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say the qualifiers every time, but I feel like I have to say the qualifiers every time.
Yeah. I know. It's just where we are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Your connection to source or God or consciousness or energy, whatever you want to call it, right? It's your comfort level. It's your comfort zone. If you feel okay calling it God, call it God. If you don't feel okay calling it God, pick source, pick energy, pick consciousness, pick the universe, multiverse, whatever you feel like calling it. But the crown chakra is responsible for channeling all of the energy that we receive into the energy body. And so the thing is you don't even really have to be aware of that connection. If you are alive, if you have an energy body, you're getting your energy somewhere. And we get our energy from Earth for sure. In fact, I think that there's a chakra at our feet that is like our Earth connection, and it's sort of a reverse crown chakra. So we do get energy from other places, but like our primary energy source would be source, which is maybe why it's called that. So yeah, the crown chakra to me is a pretty simple one. And
I agree with you. So long as you're alive, there is a connection.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like it can be fully cut off.
Yeah.
Because I literally see it as like a cord coming out of your head.
Okay. Yeah. When I'm doing my hypnotic, like my induction, where I'm like calling different energies in, source energy comes in through the crown chakra, and it's like a beam of light, and it just kind of like, it's like a beam, like right, like you said, like a cord. So right into the brain, the head, down through the, it's called the Sushumna, which would be like the center column of energy, and it goes into the chakras from there. So crown chakra is an easy one, and if you're alive, you're connected to it. So let's kind of wrap things up, and maybe I was thinking, I didn't do this for the lower chakra system, but I was thinking we could talk about like just some exercises for just maybe the chakra system as a whole, and then those individual throat, third eye, and crown chakras, like what kind of things we do to keep ours healthy. So is there any specific thing that you do to keep maybe your chakra? I guess we'll just start talking about just like the chakra system in general.
Yeah. So I will do my own kind of energy cleansing to keep it healthy. Brushing your energy off if there's any negative energy
like
around. And I like grounding, or earthing, if you want to call it like that, being barefoot out on the ground. Meditation, the drumming helps keep me connected. Just I would say primarily meditating, and I'll put my hands on the chakra areas, because I just like us as human beings having an embrace or some kind of physical touch, it can be healing. And I feel like our energy system is the same.
Oh, for sure. And I also belief is like one of the most powerful things that we have, right? Like if we have a belief in something, then we also have a head start in altering physical reality. And so I find that a lot of times if we do place our hand on the chakra, it's just one additional layer of belief, right? It just feels more true, or it feels more real when we're actually like putting our hand on the chakra, which is why I do it in session. Like if I'm working in a specific chakra, a lot of times I'll be hovering over that chakra, or I'll even put my hand on the chakra. As long as it's not the root chakra, guys, I'm not going to touch your root chakra. Like that's on you. But with the rest of the chakras, they're accessible. And so sometimes I'll be like, oh, put my hand on your throat chakra and like, really work on it, and have some actual like activations that I do in sessions sometimes specifically for specific chakras. And so it'll literally be like me putting my whole hand like on that throat space and really kind of like leaving some energy behind.
Mm.
So for me, yeah, I do all of the things that you were talking about. I love grounding. My like I don't know if I'm making this up or if this is just something that's like so important for the human experience, but I would say maybe like 60 to 75% of the time when I'm talking with a guide for a client, it'll be like, tell them to go outside and walk barefoot. Tell them to go outside and walk barefoot. They need to get outside. They need to walk barefoot.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell people to do that.
So what you're telling me is that it's like legit, like that's it's clearly something that's maybe like an inherent physical need is for us to have this earth connection.
I'm surprised because I'm like, wait a second, that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I love that.
To you too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really asked anybody, any other energy healers, so it'd be cool if we took like a poll, like, hey, do you do it? Do you do it? But yeah, apparently these doggone rubber shoes that we're wearing, I got this thick rubber sole on my shoe, and while it helps my feet not hurt or like I don't, not going on rocks or anything, there is something very important about being able to kind of discharge that excess energy through the earth. And like there's science here. I don't know the science. Again, I know just enough science to probably make myself dangerous. And so if this is something you want to explore, there's tons of science that says grounding yourself has an actual physical effect on your neurons and your electrons and like the way the electricity runs through your body. But grounding is one of those things that is like so important. And I think I knew this intuitively because when I was a kid, you could not get me in shoes.
I'm barefoot right now.
Yeah, seriously, if I don't have to wear shoes, I'm not wearing shoes. Right. And I always like laugh because I'm real weird about shoes, and I'll have like a summer pair and like a winter pair, and I'm like trying to like branch out and wear more stylish clothes. And so I've got these like white tennis shoes with this massive rubber thing on because they're so stylish. I feel so stylish when I'm wearing them, but like the second I can, I like get those puppies off and I'm like walking barefoot. But yeah, Birkenstocks in the summer, and I'm wearing like a pair of boots in the winter, and barefoot as often as I can. Barefoot in my house. Don't like to wear shoes in my house. So, and then let's see, what else do I do? I do just like a general chakra flush where I'll pull in energy from source, and it'll sort of be like the right color, the associated color of the chakra, and I'll kind of pull it down through the sushumna, that center tunnel called the sushumna, and I will go into the top, and then it'll go like out into the front and the back of the chakra, and then down into earth. So that's a practice that I'm using pretty regularly to kind of help balance my chakras. And then just sort of sitting in the energy. Like, I think just knowing what the chakra does is so important.
Yeah, definitely. It helps you have body awareness, emotional awareness.
Yeah.
Because when you start feeling a certain way, or, you're just flying off the handle, you can just come back to yourself and ask yourself, okay, where is that coming from? Oh, feeling like it's here in my body, and you can just address it sooner instead of being like, I don't know why I'm so angry.
Yeah. If you want to know why you're so angry, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's accessible. You also have access to that unified field of consciousness, and you have this body, which is a beautiful communication system for healing and just life. Right? Like our body is always talking to us about something. And whether you want to like perceive it through the chakra system, which I'm pretty sure you do if you've made it this far in the chakra podcast, right? Or if you just want to like, get in touch with your body, the intuition that you hold in your own body. I mean, it's the best thing that you can do down here, right? Mind, body, spirit. It's this triune reality that we've created. And if you're neglecting the body, right? You're neglecting 1/3 of your life experience. And a lot of times people will be neglecting the spirit too. And so we've just got like, people are just like minds, just floating little minds floating out there
Right.
in the world.
And that's what I mean by a lot of people are operating just from their upper chakras. Like
Hmm.
they are so disconnected from what's happening in their
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong, but you're missing out on
Yeah. It's
a
not the
richness.
experience that I prefer. It
Right.
could be
Yeah.
the one that's serving your karmic cycles. It could be your soul contract that you're down here to have like just a mind experience. But if healing appeals to you, if you're unsatisfied, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you don't want to be part of the life that you're living, or you want to shift the life that you've created, then here's your chance. Like get back into the body, explore those chakras, explore what the chakras are doing in your body, because the chakras are like the core of that animation. So the chakra will get imbalanced, and then everything from there will kind of flow out. And you'll get, so if we're talking throat chakra, you'll get thyroid problems, you'll get let's see, lung problems, which that may be more like a heart chakra space.
Mm.
um but yeah, you'll get all kinds of different physical
Yeah.
manifestations of this chakra imbalance, because that's the way it works.
Chronic bronchitis.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like if you're
Yeah.
getting, if you have a tonsillitis all the time, if you've got like sinuses, which that's my thing, I've got asthma. And so it's never asthma in the lungs. It's always like right here in my throat chakra. In fact, I was like, I'm like a perpetual throat clearer. And so there's definitely some more throat chakra work that I have to do. And I literally hopped onto this call and I'm like, oh no, I have a frog in my throat. So yeah, like there's lots of tells if there's specific things that are going wrong in the chakras. Which actually, I want to know what your opinion on the third eye. Like if our third eye is like never active and completely imbalanced, like what would that manifest as?
I believe it would manifest as chronic migraines,
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
um, nightmares,
Okay. Really
insomnia.
interesting. Ooh, okay. I get behind that. I haven't actually looked at the energy, so I don't know for sure on my end what that would look like. I know that I feel like, what meridian is it connected to? Man, look at me here. I'm like, I forgot all the meridians.
I know.
I almost feel like it's connected to the kidneys. Maybe there's a specific meridian, and like I'll put it in the show notes. How about that? And I don't find myself working with the meridians a whole lot, which is why I don't have them memorized.
Right.
But yeah, there's a meridian that's connected to the third eye that also would manifest with that unhealthy chakra flow. But I actually I'm going to sit with that and like explore, because I have some clients who have pretty chronic migraines. So,
Mm.
but for my clients, it's almost a throat chakra thing, because it's this really the tightness in the jaw, the
Mm.
tightness in the neck and the shoulders. And it's like they're not quite, allowing that physical reality to manifest. They're like tamping it down. They're like pushing it back and like, nope, 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 can't do that, can't say
Yeah.
that. So yeah, really interesting exploration that would be.
Yeah. I mean, they're all connected too, right? So if your
For
throat
sure.
chakra isn't working and you feel like you have to um censor yourself in some way, you're also not allowing that like
Mm,
vision of the future and your vision of self and the real richness that comes with the third eye. You're not allowing that to do its
mhm.
thing too.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you're ever suppressing anything, if you're suppressing parts of the self, then the heart chakra is going to take a hit, the solar plexus is going to take a hit. Because if you're suppressing parts of yourself, then you're judging parts of yourself, which judgment would be sort of the counter to the heart chakra. The self, the personality, and the actual like desires that make up the self live in the solar plexus, and so the solar plexus is going to take a hit. And really, it's not, I mean, I said this the last time, and I'll probably say it a million more times before I'm done talking about the chakra system on this podcast. And I'll probably never be done talking about the chakra system on this podcast. So just prepare yourself. But this is a non-linear experience. It's not like A plus B equals C. Like it's always, well, wait, that's influencing that, and that's influencing that. And like, this is a whole like beautiful, intuitive journey that we're taking through healing. And like, a lot of times it doesn't like make sense. And I put that in air quotes because obviously nothing really makes sense. But we think we're going to do root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye. And it just isn't like that. I have found. So I'm just like skating along my way and they're like, hey, throat chakra, throat chakra, throat chakra. And I'm like, okay, let's do the throat chakra. Let's work on it. And then they'll be like, hey, sacral chakra, sacral chakra. And I'm like, but I already did that one. Come on. Like, let me just like catch a break for a minute and like feel like I've checked a chakra off my list.
No,
but
I think you'll always be growing and going to new layers because that's what it is. I feel the healing, whatever is showing up in a session, then that is what the client is willing to work on. And as you continue your healing practice and you heal things, then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, it's a spiral staircase. And there's like a meme on the internet or like a graphic that's on the internet. And like you're looking at a spiral staircase from on top of the spiral staircase and it looks just like a circle. But then you look at it from the side, you're going deeper and you have a layer and you have a layer and a layer. And there's like more and more and more depth. And so when I like, rag on my guides about like the sacral chakra again, it's not like, it is annoying because there's definitely this human proclivity to like want to be done, right? Like I am tired of this. I want to be done with it. But that's just because like, I think there's an end. And like, once I reach the end, I will have arrived. But I feel like I pretty consistently in my medicine say, there is no destination. The journey is the destination. And so if I can just pull all things in and allow all experiences, allow all expressions of myself to exist in non-judgment, I won't feel so frustrated. I'll be like, oh, the sacral chakra. Hey, sacral chakra, what's up?
Right. Yeah. The destination is death. So
okay. Yeah. But then even then.
Right. So like enjoy the ride, right? Like don't rush to get there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. So the destination would be death in the human plane.
For our physical reality. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, I mean, I guess theoretically we could just come back and do it exactly the same way. Like we just experience the same thing over and over again. And so even death isn't really, well, I'll say for me, like you're the death worker. And so I'm sure you have like a more grounded, rooted in reality perception of death. But the longer I do this, the more death just sort of becomes like this occurrence. And I can really detach from it kind of like driving my life. Right. Like this fear of death doesn't like have to like motivate me anymore because theoretically, if we really are all unified consciousnesses, if all experiences, if there's no linear time and all experiences are happening at the same time, all the time, I can just go back to this one. I'll just align my consciousness with this specific life and just do it all over again and give myself the illusion of time and like hop back into this body and like do this experience again and again and again as many times as I want. And so in an abundant, eternal universe, there really is no scarcity.
That's true. There is no scarcity. Yeah.
But if you only think of that, that's a bypass for your human experience that you're having right now. Because the illusion of this human experience is the point. We can't, right? We have to be, and like, I'll put in air quotes, we have to be afraid of death in order for there to be a meaning here. And so the longer we can the easier we can hold both realities of like, okay, well, even physical death doesn't have to strike fear into my heart because it's not actually real. And physical death is coming for me. The more detached and attached, paradoxically, I can become. And that's really what we're after. We're after a human experience where we can attach and experience love and grief and sorrow and joy and ecstasy, while also being detached enough to fully sink into those experiences. So that wasn't really what we were here to talk about, but here we are.
I derailed the conversation.
No. Are you kidding me? I am the queen of derailing. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that that's something that's just going to kind of be ever present in my work. I'm talking about this paradox of like attaching and detaching at the same time and holding two truths at once. I'm talking about that regularly. And
yeah, I mean, humans are paradoxical and our experience is paradoxical. So yeah, like
absolutely.
I think people are kind of afraid of that, where it's like, well, I said I believed in X, Y, and Z, so now I have to like maintain that. No, you don't.
Yeah, you just
No,
change
you
your
don't.
mind.
You can believe in it sometimes and not whenever it's convenient for you. That's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, you can remember and then you can forget whenever you feel like it. Because that's the point. I went on a mushroom. I had this experience with psilocybin mushrooms. And what they showed me was, I say they, but like it could have been, it was like mainly it, like the source, the all. And what it showed me was the lower we sink into the human experience, the more we forget we're God. And the purpose of the human experience is to remember that we're God. And so like we continue to have these experiences and we remember and we forget and we remember and we forget. And that is actually the there's no words for what I'm talking about. Just so you know, this is not actually it. I'm just trying my best with the limited vocabulary that English affords me. But the framework of the wave or the vibration is the high vibration is remember, the low vibration is forget. And it's like the peak and the valley is this remember and forget. And so like at a very microcosmic level, we see that play out in like a wave. And then like if we took it a step up, we could see it in like the actual wave of like an ocean instead of like a, just like a brain wave or whatever kind of microwave, X-ray wave.
Yeah.
At the molecular level, and then the wave at the 3-dimensional level, and then the wave of my consciousness, remembering and forgetting and remembering and forgetting and living and dying and birthing and living and dying. And it's just this like constant up and down and up and down and eternal paradox would be what it is. Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's not a whole lot of like great ways to say that. And so what I intuit will happen in my energy is like, I'm just going to have to like say it a lot. And I'm going to have to like try to communicate these like profound wisdoms that I've been shown in as many creative ways as I can possibly say them, so that people will be like, hang on, I kind of got that when you said it that way. And then, oh, maybe I sort of got that, and like put these two together and like maybe we got it. So this is not a derail. This feels exactly like, where we were meant to end, especially because you're a death worker.
Yeah.
Right? Like you work in the medium of grief.
I do, yes.
Yeah. So absolutely perfect ending to an excellent podcast. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Any closing remarks that you want to just bless us with?
Closing remarks, just keep listening to your body and grounding yourself, because it feels so good when you do. And trust what you have coming through. Trust your intuition.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. If people want to find you to follow you, can you drop your handle and your social media platforms on at right now? Just let us know what they are.
Yeah. So I'm mainly on Instagram, and it's AmandaHK.BeyondEnds.
Okay, AmandaHK.BeyondEnds.
Yes.
If you want to follow Amanda, who is a tarot reader, energy healer, death worker, just really sort of the full package, really beautifully manifesting a lovely human and healing experience. So thank you so much for volunteering to come on, and I just feel energized and charged up. So
yeah, let's
yeah,
go
okay.
get them.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this thing. Let's have that human experience. All right, folks, you heard me. Get back out there and own that human experience. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider rating me 5 stars on whatever platform you're on, and be sure to subscribe. A new episode drops every Friday, and wouldn't want you to miss it. If you want to be on the Informal Mystic Podcast, head to informalmystic.com/the Informal Mystic Podcast and fill out that application on that webpage. Also, if you don't want to come on the podcast, but you have an episode request, is there something you're wanting to learn from me, or just something you're wanting more information about, you can head there and the application will work for that too. So you don't have to come on the podcast to submit an idea for an episode. All right, besties, and that's a wrap on this episode. Stay mystical out there.